Okay, anong time check natin sa gabing ito? No? 28 minutos, pasado po alas 7. Okay, dito po sa digital clock natin. Okay, 26 ng December 2023. Okay, araw ng Martes. Okay, sa gabi ng Martes po, no? Araw ng Martes. Gabi po ng Martes, itong programa natin pang gabi, no? Okay, magandang umaga. Good evening. Okay, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Okay, sa lahat po ng suki natin sa news online, mga kababayan, no? Okay, kumusta kayo? Okay, nakaraos na po ang okay, araw ng 25. Okay, sa mga mag-celebrate po ng Pasko nila na, party nila, no? Okay. Okay, gusto ko lang magpasalamat. Okay, maraming salamat po mga bumili po ng okay, mga damit. Okay, sa bisperas po ng piyesta, mga kababayan, no? Okay, marami-rami rin. Okay, inulit ko. Okay, maraming salamat po sa bumili po ng paninda namin po. Okay, sa bisperas po ng 25 mga suki, no? 25. Okay, medyo okay po ang bentahan, mga suki, no? Ganun lang mga itong mga sa negosyo, no? Okay, dito tayo sa Consolidated News, panggabi. Okay, sa programa Halo-Halo Special, Opinion, Balita at iba pa. Okay, karamay po serbisyo publiko, tinig ng mamamayan. Okay, pati na rin sumbungan ng mamamayan. Wala gaano sumbong ngayon, no? Okay, medyo humupa po. Okay, ang hindi natin tinigilan po ang bakbakan dyan po sa Gaza Street. Okay. So, ang unang itong labanan po, okay, election sa Amerika, no? Okay, dito po sa okay, Al Jazeera English, mga suki, no? Gusto ko kasi itong news ito kasi may pagkabalanse po, mga suki, magbalita, no? Okay. Hindi ba one-sided na news? Okay, very balanced po pag sila magbigay po ng balita, no? Okay. So, ay parinig natin itong unang salvo po ng itong election sa Amerika, no? Okay, primary na sila, Biden and Trump. Okay, in uncertain. Okay, hindi raw sigurado. Sa inside story po ng Al Jazeera, mga suki, no? English. Okay. So, pakinggan na lang natin, no, para maintindihan natin. Sinabi ko naman ay mag-cover ako, mga kababayan, election sa Amerika, no? Okay, sa 2024. Dati naman natin ay ginagawa ito, mga suki, hindi lang election ito. Okay, matagal-tagal na rin tayo magsubaybay po. Okay, election sa Amerika, no? Ayan. Okay, okay, parinig natin, no? Ayan. Okay. Light muna kasi walang bakbakan muna. Okay. Sige. Okay. Ito po.
Next year's U.S. presidential election is predicted to be a contest between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. But not even that is certain in the most uncertain of election campaigns. So who else might be in the mix? And what are the important issues? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Denny Navigator. November the 5th, 2024 is the day Americans will vote for their next president. Most predict a contest between President Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who's seeking a return to the White House. But with Trump facing criminal charges and Biden an impeachment inquiry, if a week is a long time in politics, 11 months feels like an eternity. Who'll actually be on the ballot paper isn't certain yet, in a campaign swirling with volatility. World leaders are preoccupied with an uncertain global economic and political outlook, a widening east-west divide, and international involvement in major wars in Ukraine and Gaza. But what do American voters worry about? Who will they pick in an election that has global implications? We'll be discussing this and more with our guests in a moment. But first, Cara Legg takes a look at how things are playing out so far in the battle for the White House.
With less than a year to go, the race is on for America's top job, and the 2024 US presidential election promises to be like no other before. Leading the field of Republican candidates is former President Donald Trump, who's facing federal and state criminal charges relating to his 2020 election loss.
Mr. President, what's the latest on the gun deal?
The incumbent Joe Biden is the presumptive Democratic nominee, already the oldest president in American history, seeking another term. The gloves are already off, with Trump taking aim at Biden at a rally in Colorado shortly after a court barred him from appearing on the state's ballot.
Joe Biden is a threat to democracy. It's a threat.
Biden has hit back, telling voters his predecessor is all bark and no bite.
Trump just talks the talk. We walk the walk.
The latest polls suggest it's neck and neck if the election were a head-to-head contest, with Trump ahead of Biden by 2% in a New York Times Siena College opinion poll. Another survey by the Wall Street Journal suggests Trump is ahead by 4%. Despite Trump dominating the Republican field, he currently faces 6 rivals. The most prominent are Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley, and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, a long-shot candidate, and political newcomer businessman Vivek Ramaswamy. With little opposition in the Democratic Party, Biden and his Vice President Kamala Harris have the biggest backing, but face challenges from Dean Phillips, a little-known congressman from Minnesota, and self-help author and speaker Marianne Williamson. But other contenders have thrown their hats into the ring. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. from the famed American political family has launched an independent bid. Progressive activist Cornel West says he'll do the same, while former presidential candidate Jill Stein has said she will seek the Green Party's nomination. The challenge will be to get enough support to get their name on the ballot paper in all 50 states next year. It all kicks off in January when Republican voters in Iowa hold their nominating contest known as the caucuses. Then it'll be a long wait until November to see who'll come out on top. Regardless of who wins, the issues remain the same. Domestic concerns such as rising inflation and the cost of living, crime, gun control and illegal drugs, healthcare, welfare and social security, as well as migration, with record numbers of people crossing the southern border with Mexico this year. Further afield, the relationship with China continues to dominate foreign policy. Israel's war on Gaza and Russia's invasion of Ukraine, both of which receive US backing and funding. But for now, it'll be the hopeful candidates who need backing as they seek to win the hearts and minds of US voters. Cara Legg, Al Jazeera for Inside Story.
All right, let's bring in our guest. Joining us from St. Augustine in Florida is Tim Constantine, who's a Senior Vice President of Diplomacy and External Affairs at the Washington Times. He's also the host of the Capitol Hill Show. And from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, we have with us Thomas Gift, who's the Director of the Center on U.S. Politics at University College London. And from Burlington, Vermont, we're joined by Arshad Hassan, who's a Democratic political strategist. Welcome to you all. Thanks for your time. Arshad, I'll begin with you because, look, according to one poll by polling firm 538, Biden's approval rating is sitting at around 34%, and that is the worst of any president at the same point since polling data became available. How much does this worry the Democrats?
I know that there are some people who are a little bit worried about this, but when we contextualize it, in terms of whether you would vote for Joe Biden when that poll question is asked, he's sitting about the same place he was this time about 4 years ago. And remember, 4 years ago, he ended up becoming the nominee and the president. So I think people are more focused a year out. People shouldn't really be that focused on the polls themselves, more about what the candidates each are doing.
Right, but is he putting his party at risk by running?
I don't think so. Right now, he's running one of the strongest recoveries we've seen in this country. And as it gets closer and closer to the election, as more and more people see that they're more secure in their livelihoods, they're more secure in their household budgets, they'll see that this economy is much better than it was at this point 4 years ago. And that's what people will be looking for when they start making those decisions at the ballot box. I think this will be good.
Okay, just one more for you before I bring in my other guest, because, in the context of the Gaza war that we've been seeing, Arshad, we hear from a lot of Arab American voters who say that President Biden won't be getting their votes because of his stance and his stance that he's taken to support Israel no matter what. Is that going to make a big difference?
I actually do think, and I'll differ from some of my colleagues here, I do think that is something that Joe Biden needs to get a handle on. Arab American voters make up an enormous amount, a significant amount of the electorate in one of the biggest swing states in the country, Michigan. And so Joe Biden needs to be doing outreach and communicating to this community if he wants to shore up an important constituency within an important state, and that's the politics. He does need to do the work here.
All right, Thomas, let's bring you in because I want to stick with Biden for just a moment before we talk about the other candidates as well as Trump. Does Biden have the energy to actually fuel a campaign?
Okay, sandali lang, i-break muna natin, no? Para naman meron na tayo share dito po sa analysis po ng Inside Story, no? Okay, Al Jazeera. Okay, wala pa personalan trabaho ito, no? Okay, kahit anong tinatalakay natin, wala pang personalan. Ayun na nga lang, minsan ay maanghang mga suki, no? Okay, pero walang personal yon. Okay, hindi ako magtatago po sa aking puso na maging personal lang aking trabaho, no? Trabaho lang ito. Ayan. Okay. Sige.
Time because much is made about his age. He's 81, and he would be the oldest American to win a presidential election should he win that nomination, of course.
Well, I mean, I think that that's certainly a legitimate question, and it's one that Republicans are trying to put front and center, and especially given Kamala Harris's very poor polling numbers, ones that are even lower than Joe Biden, they're essentially trying to depict a vote for Biden as being a vote for Harris. And I still think that voters, by and large, vote for the top of the ticket, but it has to be consideration given the in any way encouraged by them. Not only nationally does it look like Joe Biden is maybe losing by a few percentage points to Donald Trump at the moment, but he's losing in almost all of the key swing states. There was a recent poll that came out showing that Donald Trump had an edge in 7 key battleground states. So for lots of reasons, both related to Joe Biden's performance, potentially his age, he's just not polling well. I mean, the one.
So how do you think that the White House is dealing with this, Thomas? I mean, does the White House have a convincing message to Democrats about why they shouldn't be nervous?
Well, I think that to a large extent, the White House has tried to frame this as a public relations problem and that they're just not getting the message out. But I think that a lot of voters are just dissatisfied with the state of the U.S. economy and the state that the country is going at the moment. Now, I do think that it's interesting that polls show such disfavorability on the economy, because if you look at some objective measures, inflation has decreased considerably. Jobs numbers are still relatively robust. It looks like the economy is going to achieve this soft landing that many feared that it would not be able to. So there does seem to be a disconnect between what's happening on the ground and how Americans are reacting. But ultimately, I think Joe Biden has to figure out some way to circumvent that challenge, because it's really been dragging down his numbers.
Okay, let's bring in Tim. I mean, do you agree with that? And is it just going to be Joe Biden, Tim, or how likely is a Democratic shakeup at this point?
I see an entirely different scenario, and I've been saying this for months. And when I first said it, people kind of laughed and thought I was crazy. But as time has gone on, they think, maybe there's something to this. I believe Joe Biden will continue to run through the primary process. In the United States, you mentioned in the opening Iowa. There's Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. They go state by state. There are a few days where there are multiple states. And by May or so, hopefully someone in either party has racked up enough delegates to officially be the candidate for their party. I think Joe Biden will go through that process and then enter the convention this summer, the Democrat convention, as the assumed nominee. However, I think at that convention, Joe Biden and the people around him will announce, I've seen the light. I've had a thought here that perhaps I am too old, perhaps I am not ready to go for another 4 years. However, his people will control all of those delegates.
Okay, sandali lang, parinig natin ito, no? Ayan. Malungkot, no? Malungkot. Ayan. Okay, basta masaya, malungkot. Okay, okay lang.
Which means essentially they can choose. They have unusually large sway over who their nominee will be. I think you'll see Michelle Obama. Joe Biden's administration is essentially Biden 2.0. Biden is Obama 2.0.
You think this is what's going to happen, or is there? Do you have some insider info you can share with us?
No, I think it's based on political reality. You know, your earlier guest said the economy is good. I just disagree. It's good compared to where it was 18 months ago, but it's not good. Having 3.5% inflation isn't great. It's better than the 9% inflation. But when they say there's a disconnect between the voter, between the resident of the United States, the citizen, and the actual economy, I don't think there is. When on election day.
Okay, what do you think, Michelle Obama, no? Okay. For 2020 for Michelle Obama, no? Okay. She's a good name. Okay, in the American politics, Michelle Obama, no? What do you think? Okay. He is, she's more younger, okay, than President Joe Biden, no? Joe Biden at the age of 81. Okay. So, what do you think, Michelle Obama? Okay, for 2024. Ayan. American voters. What do you think for Mr. Obama, no? Okay. The Democrat voters, mga suki, no? Yeah. Sige.
In 2020, I literally went out and took a photograph of how much gas was on that day. It was $1.89 for a gallon of gas. And over the last couple of years, it's gone as high as $4. Every single American puts gasoline in their car. So when gas is twice as expensive, they feel it in their wallet. If you buy things like eggs, they are twice as expensive. So there's no disconnect. That's real life. When people go out, it's winter time here now, and you can buy a bag of wood at the grocery store to put in your fireplace. A year and a half ago, or a winter of a year ago, it was $5 a bag. It is now $9 a bag. So those are real numbers. Those are real hits on people. And the reality is you've got an 81-year-old president who looks and acts every one of those 81 years. He falls down on stage.
Okay, I think Mr. Obama. Okay, I think Mr. Obama, a pragmatic, okay, talented leader. Okay, Mr. Obama, no? If you want to look for a younger one, I think Mr. Obama is more capable to lead America, no? Okay, because of her long experience, okay, with his husband, okay, former President Barack Obama, no? Okay. Ay, kasama si Michelle Obama rito sa kuan ito, no? Okay, sa primary. Ayan. Sige.
Was lost on stage. He does not look like he is in charge at a time when there is war raging in the Middle East. There's war raging in Ukraine and Russia. And
right, all topics, all issues that we're going to get onto, but just allow me to let Arshad jump in.
I don't think Biden is a vulnerable candidate. I think the Democrats know that. Your Democrat guest
okay,
isn't going to say that.
Stand by for a moment, because I do want to get back to Arshad, because I saw you shaking your head when Tim was suggesting that Michelle Obama might be put forward.
I'm sorry, but this is absurd. It's completely unserious. That's not how any of this works. I've actually been a delegate a number of times at the convention. It just doesn't work like this. Michelle Obama herself, who's a vastly, highly popular figure.
Okay, highly popular figure, Michelle Obama, no? Okay, 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 her education, lahat-lahat po mga kababayan, no? Dashing, very dashing, and a political figure, mga suki, no? Michelle Obama. Okay, go ahead.
Among Americans, and particularly the Democratic Party, has absolutely no interest in running for any office of any sort. Moreover, you need to put together an entire campaign, an entire infrastructure for any of this kind of stuff to work. It doesn't happen in secret. People would know. So I'm sorry, but this is okay. I think Michelle Obama is something, but that's not how this works.
All right. I mean, at this point, you know, we'll have to wait to see what happens.
Okay, what do you think, Mr. Barack Obama, no, former President of the United States of America? What do you think? Okay, are you willing to gamble for 2024? Okay, supporting your first lady, no? Okay, Michelle Obama. Okay, a dashing and a popular, okay, politician, mga suki, no? Wala. Sa loob po ng 8 taon, wala kang marinig po ng kalokohan po sa loob ng sa loob po ng White House, mga suki. Sa loob ng 8 taon, no? Wala kang marinig. A clean record of the two couple, okay, Mr. President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, no? Okay. Wala kang marinig. You never heard any, okay, illegal work, okay, in the White House, mga kababayan, no? Okay. Very popular pa. Okay, ako, favor ako kay Kwan, no? I am in favor okay, to Michelle Obama. Ayan.
Just very briefly, Ted, very briefly, because I'd like to move on to another issue. Go on.
Sure. Here's why it will work. For Michelle Obama to run a campaign for 9 months would not work. She has a tendency to put her foot in her mouth even when she has the best of intentions. However, in this scenario, the Democrat convention is late in August, which leaves her only September and October before Election Day. The first 30 days, the American media who loves Michelle Obama will fawn all over her. She will not have to do anything. And then the last 30 days, first of all, she'll decline to debate Trump or whomever the nominee is, because Trump, for example, this year refused to participate in the Republican debates. So there's no problem. He has no legitimate argument when she says, thank you, but no thank you, I'm not going to debate.
Well, I'm glad you bring up Trump.
Last note. Instead, she'll do a television special with Oprah, and that will get huge ratings. And American women and American minorities, both key constituencies, will absolutely love her. This is
all right. We'll have to wait to see what happens, and we'll check in with both of you gentlemen at the time to see whether these predictions have come true. But Thomas, let me bring you in. On the Republican side, the expectation is that Trump is going to be victorious. That's the expectation, according to the polls as well. But what we see now is that his legal troubles are back at the forefront, and we also saw that recently the Colorado High Court ruled that Trump is ineligible to run again for president. First, talk to us about what happened in Colorado and what does this disqualification mean for Trump going forward, if anything at all?
Well, it was a 4-3 decision in Colorado, essentially banning Donald Trump from being on the ballot. Trump is going to appeal this to the Supreme Court, and I think in all likelihood the Supreme Court is going to overrule that decision and that he will ultimately be on the ballot. But I think from Trump's standpoint, in terms of the campaign, this was...
Okay, stop muna natin. Ito po, paharinig muna natin, no? Michelle Obama, no? Remember, okay, former First Lady Michelle Obama. Okay. She's a nice girl, a beautiful girl, okay, from the African-American citizen of the United States of America. No? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
It's an early Christmas gift for him. It was a present just like all the other indictments that have helped him and will continue to help him. And Donald Trump is basically able to frame this as yet another example of where the judicial system is being weaponized against him, that he's the victim, that this is a hoax, that this is a witch hunt, etc. And we've seen his poll numbers, of course, increase every single time he has faced legal difficulties. I don't think that this instance will be any different. And I really do think that Donald Trump is going to be the runaway nominee for the Republican side. He has a big lead in Iowa, almost 30 percentage points. We are seeing Nikki Haley, to an extent, reduce that margin in New Hampshire, but I still think that she's just too far away from Donald Trump, and especially given what we saw over this last week, it's only going to shepherd him to the nomination.
Arshad, do you agree with this, that this helps Trump when it comes to his run for presidency? And also, what impact does all of this have on independent voters?
That's what the question really is. First, I'll say this. I can agree that Donald Trump is a consummate grifter. No matter what happens, he's going to find a way to raise money off of it. And that's exactly what he's been doing. That's exactly what he'll continue to do, regardless of the outcome of any of these sort of verdicts. But to your second question, what does this do for independent voters? I agree the Supreme Court may well strike this down and Trump will appear on the ballots, but the message this is reinforcing for independent voters, people potentially persuadable, is this reinforces the fact that Donald Trump constantly gets himself into legal trouble. And I don't mean small little legal trouble. I mean defrauding, denying, and conspiring to overthrow the will of the people. Americans, these prosecutions, people forget that in order to get these prosecutions, in order to get these indictments, grand juries of everyday Americans, people from all over and all different kinds of backgrounds in multiple jurisdictions, have indicted Donald Trump on now over 90 different charges. Every time that Donald Trump goes to court, sure, he'll send out an email to raise money up a bit, but also it will remind voters that this man is unreliable, unstable, and does not respect the will of the people.
Okay, Tim, react to that and also tell us who's likely to challenge Trump in the primaries, at least. I mean, there are a number of candidates, but who's the most likely threat, do you think?
Sure. Just to the last comment there, the indictment doesn't mean anything. That's not a charge of guilt. That means there's a charge in the indictment process before a grand jury. Only one side is presented. The prosecutor presents his side. There is no defense whatsoever. And the only question of the grand jury is, do you have enough information that this should go to trial? But they only hear one side of the story. So an indictment means absolutely nothing. And in the United States, you are presumed innocent until you are found guilty in trial. So
okay, what about the other candidates?
On the other candidates, I think what we'll keep an eye on is in Iowa, even though he polls way ahead, I don't know how much of a structure he has. Iowa is a caucus instead of a primary, meaning at a primary, you go, you vote, you go back to work, or you go home. Or at a caucus, you stay there for hours. And it's all about being organized. But Iowa also has a long history of picking losers. Ted Cruz won Iowa in 2016. Rick Santorum won in 2012. You go all the way back to Reagan, and George Bush beat Ronald Reagan in Iowa. So Iowa, it may create some momentum for someone, but it is not the end-all, be-all. What it will do, if Trump wins that big, if he wins by 40 points, it continues the feeling of inevitability. Tom mentioned there was a recent poll in New Hampshire that showed Nikki Haley within striking distance. That most recent poll, and I think it was a TIPP poll, I might be mistaken, but a credible poll, had Trump at 33, Nikki Haley at 29. So I think the only place you're going to see a possibility is if she does well in New Hampshire. South Carolina, which is her home state, is the third state in the process. So then maybe you set up a little race, but I think it's going to be awful tough for any of the other candidates to overcome the numbers we're seeing.
Tom, what about the issues that are important for Americans? I mean, obviously the economy is one. We've already spoken about that. But what other issues will voters be taking into consideration when it comes to domestic U.S. issues? We'll get on to foreign policy in just a moment.
Right. Well, I think that the economy is front and center. That's always going to be the case. And if the economy is trending up, of course, that's going to help Joe Biden. If it stays sort of at the current level, I think that this is good for the Republican nominee, if that's Trump or someone else. Immigration certainly is an issue, I think, that Republicans can make significant progress on in terms of challenging the administration. Also, the abortion issue is one that is kind of the gift that keeps on giving for Democrats. We saw that particularly in the 2022 midterms. We saw that in the 2023 off-year elections as well. That's something that Republicans, by and large, have had difficulty grappling with. But I ultimately think that if it is Trump versus Biden in 2024, this election is going to be less about specific policy issues and more about just the personalities of these two individuals. I think it will largely just be a referendum on Donald Trump. Typically, we see referendums on the individual who's in the White House, but Donald Trump, just because of his outsized personality, his polarized status, it's all going to be about, do we want 4 more years of this individual, or do we want kind of more of the same? Do we want the status quo?
Okay, Arshad, what about foreign policy issues? I mean, we know, but judging by past elections in history, Americans don't vote on foreign policy issues when it comes to picking their presidents, right? But now with the Gaza war going on, with the Ukraine war going on, with the competition for China taking place with the U.S., what's the...
Okay, sandali lang. I-cut muna natin, no? Okay. Okay, yung tunog na yan, pang 13 taon na po marinig nyo ito na. Habang namatay na po ang gumagawa ng kanyan, no? Si hindi na lumahan mga suki. Namatay na. Okay. Nagkasakit po mga suki, no?
Is there a conversation on these issues happening right now amongst American voters?
I'll be honest, I have to say that the conversation happening amongst American voters and the conversation that most politicians are happening do not line up particularly well, including when it comes to the Middle East and Gaza in particular. You have both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party refusing to support a ceasefire in Gaza, although most Americans, almost 2-1, support a ceasefire. So there are certainly conversations happening, but this is one where both parties have really disconnected from the American people. It's kind of a way of saying, it's really not a big alternative between the two parties there, which is another way of saying that it's not really going to affect the election a great deal.
But here's the thing, Tim. China is a big one because China, what happens with China affects the American economy. So we know that Republicans are arguing that China is a growing threat to the national security of the U.S., a threat to U.S. corporate interests, as well as to Taiwan's independence. And President Biden is saying that his administration wants to de-risk and not decouple its relationship with China and to work to keep the competition between the world's #1 and #2 economic powers from escalating into a conflict. Is that going to resonate with voters, Tim?
Yeah, it's one of those things where, again, I think it's a fuzz, it's a blur, it's somehow white noise when you talk to voters about that. They know they go to the store or they go online and they purchase a product, and there's a pretty good chance it might be made in China. Short of that, the rest of it is white noise to them. So Biden may have a message, Trump may have a message, but I don't think either one of them will spend a great deal of time talking about China, and I don't think that's something that's going to resonate with voters at all. I do think the one bit of foreign policy that will resonate is, particularly with Arab Americans and with Jewish Americans, is the Gaza Strip. And I think Biden is being treated, I'll say, unfairly here because the Jewish community in the United States doesn't think he's being strong enough, and the Arab community feels totally abandoned. So he could lose both sides because of the way that situation has been handled thus far by his administration.
Right, okay. And just one final thought from all three gentlemen. Thomas, I'll start with you. Are Americans excited by a Trump versus Biden election?
I think it's the exact opposite of excitement. And in fact, I think it's dejection and just total fatigue. I don't think that they want to see a rematch of 2020. And that's the big irony here, which is that you have two of the primary candidates, both of whom have poll numbers that are underwater. Most people don't want Joe Biden. Most people want Donald Trump. They want an alternative. But because of how our primary system works and how deference to the incumbent works in the White House, this is the option that they're going to get. But yeah, okay. I think it's hard pressed to find someone who thinks that this is the exact.
Arshad, do you think that voter apathy will play a part if Americans are not excited about this election, if it is a Trump versus Biden one? In 30 seconds, please.
I know, and I will say this, I know for a fact that the Democratic Party must work on voter apathy. It can be a problem for us. The one thing that I do know is that many voters are motivated to vote against Trump very clearly, same as last time. It is also important that the Democratic Party works on its base to make sure that there is enthusiasm for Biden. Both these things need to be true.
All right, Tim, final word to you.
Rasmussen put out a poll that showed 61% of Americans, 61% said they don't want to see that rematch. So if you talk about apathy or frustration, you have hit it on the nose. I think this is an odd case where...
Okay, 61 American voters doesn't want to have a rematch between incumbent President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump, no? 61%. Okay, mataas yun mga suki, no? Okay, hindi sila papayag na mag-rematch itong dalawa. Okay, gusto nila mga bagong mukha po mga suki, mga tagapakinig, no? Ayan. 61%, na?
Okay. A third-party candidate can't win the way the system is set up, but could have an impact on the outcome. If a third party get in, there may be enough people that are so frustrated on both sides of the issue that they go down that center, and that has an impact on who ultimately wins.
All right, we'll have to see what happens. For the time being, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. Tim Constantine, Thomas Gift, and Arshad Hassan. Thanks for your time. Thanks for watching. You can see the program again anytime by visiting our website, aljazeera.com. For further discussion, go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. Join the conversation on X. Our handle is AJ Inside Story. From myself and the whole team here in Doha, thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.
Okay, thank you. Al Jazeera English, no? Okay. Di ko na alam po kung sinong host yung mga kababayan, no? Basta thank you na lang. Okay. So, yan po ang latest, okay, sa US election trend, no? Okay.
Awesome! Awesome! Awesome!
Okay, my question to former President Barack Obama. Are you willing to gamble, Mr. President? Okay, to support your First Lady. Okay, your number one First Lady, okay, Michelle Obama, no? Are you ready to gamble? Okay, for 2024? Okay, just have a exchange note, mga kababayan, no? Okay. So, yan po ang okay, latest trending sa US politics, mga kababayan, no? Okay, okay, the former team of President Barack Obama, no? They are willing to reorganize back. Okay, I think so. Ayan po mga suki, no? Okay, so pahinga muna ako and then babalik tayo sa ibang balita, no? Ang oras natin mahaba. Okay, ang programa, yung recorded na audio na yun, 10 minutos po, pasado po alas 8 na, no? Okay, sandali lang. Okay, balikan po natin pag meron pang kaya. Okay, mga isang balita na lang, no? Ayan. Okay. Okay, bukas po magsaya po ng ang Bangsamoro Press Corps kung saan tayo isang official po diyan, no, sa Bangsamoro Press Corps. Still loyal po sa organization. I am still loyal, no? Okay, loyal pa rin po sa organization niyan. Okay, inorganize po ng presidente ngayon. Okay, si Kaka Ali Makabalang, no? Ayan, magpagawa pala ng mosque itong si Kaka Ali, no? Okay, saan kaya mosque yan? Sa Kidapawan ba yan? Okay, o sa Marawi. Siyempre, doon po malapit sa bahay niya, no? Okay, si Kaka Ali Makabalang. Ayan po ay bilang membro ay kahit wala ko doon, no? Okay, natutuwa ko. Okay, mga kasamahan natin po ay dyan yan bukas, no? Okay, nung nag-attend ako ng first, okay, ng rapport niya, nanalo ako ng yung maliit na pressure, no? Okay, maliit na pressure. Okay, dyan pa rin naiwan po sa Cotabato. Puntahan ko nga sana yan. Okay, para maayos po yung mga gamit yan po, no? Ayan. So, siyempre magtutuwa. O matuwa sila bukas, masaya sila yan. Okay, kahit okay, may sa tender po ng Bangsamoro government po sa mga tagapagbalita, no? Okay, isang officer ako, okay, representing Basilan, no? Ayan. Okay, mag-wish na lang tayo, dapat ay magsaya sila, no? Okay, walang inggitan, okay, walang siraan, okay, sa media night nila bukas, no? Okay, nila kuan yan, no? Ang mga bumubuhay yan ng pag-organize yan ng media night, okay, nila executive director, okay, si Alonto, no? Alonto ng BIO. Sino ba yung Andrew Sim ba yan? Andrew Sim Alonto. Nakalimutan ko ng pangalan niya, no? Okay, nila Al Barakaman, Pangandaman, mga suki, no? At saka marami diyan, okay, sa loob po ng BIO, Bureau of Information Office, mga kababayan, no? Okay, so ako ay babati lang. Okay, dapat magsaya sila. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, no? Okay. Wala man ako, pero masaya ako, mga suki, no? Okay, masaya ako kasi binigyan ng importansya, okay, sa loob po ng isang taon ng trabaho po ng mga tagapamahayag dyan po sa BARM government, no? Okay, medyo marami-rami rin. Okay, so humingi na lang tayo ng feedback, okay, bukas, kasi meron tayong mga kasama po dyan, mag-attend din natin yan, no? Okay, kung mapagbigyan po ng okay, mapagbigyan po ng maka-attend sila dyan sa celebration na yan, no? Ayan. So, wish ko na lang dapat talagang todo ang pagsaya nila dyan, no? Okay, yun lang naman ang trabaho natin. Okay, mga year-end, okay, meron mga ganun, no? Okay, dito nga sa Zamboanga, hindi man lang ako inimbitahan, mga suki, no? Okay, punit ng bunganga ko sa news dito. Okay, itong Zamboanga, wala man lang, okay, wala man lang mag-imbita, mga suki, no? Okay lang, wala problema. Ay punit ng bunganga mo magbalita, okay, kahit man lang okay, pasabi. Ayan po, no? So parang eksklusibo. Okay, eksklusibo ang mga media rito sa Zamboanga, mga suki, no? Ayan. Pero sa akin hindi man ako okay, magtanim po ng mga sama ng loob, no? Wala po 'yon sa akin. Ayan. Okay, mga kababayan, iyan po ang mabalita natin po tungkol po sa Bangsamoro Press Corps, no? Bukas. Okay. Bukas yan ng gabi. Okay, ito po. Ayan. Sige, ito po. Okay, sige. Wala na rin oras, no? 10 minuto na lang ata ang oras. Okay. Okay, nandiyan nakita ko po si David Axelrod, no? Okay, yung dati pa organizer po ni former President Barack Obama, nandiyan pa rin nakita ko. Okay, paminsan-minsan po, no? Okay, si Ephraim kayo, nandiyan pa? Ayan, si Ephraim. Ayan. Baka nandiyan pa rin sila, no? Kung talagang okay, mag-organize sila, okay, pasok po si Michelle Obama, makakuha, no? Okay. Okay, tight monetary policy to restrict foreign direct investment inflow. Uy, anong dahilan po mga kababayan, no? Okay, okay, basahin po natin ang detalye ng balita ito. Manila, Philippines. Okay, the higher for longer interest rate environment is reported is expected to constrain the inflow of a foreign direct investment FDI into the Philippines next year, according to the Standard Chartered Bank. Okay, in its global focus, economic outlook for 2024, titled, okay, a soft landing with risk. Okay, soft landing with risk, no? Lahat naman po pag-investment ay, okay, talagang may risk. Okay, walang safe po mga kababayan, no? Depende na lang. Okay, Standard Chartered Bank, Economist for Asia, okay, Jonathan Ko with H, no? K-O-H, said investment would remain, okay, constrained by a tight monetary policy. Ayan po mga suki, no? Okay. Okay, we expect investment growth to be subdued in H1 2024, no? Anong H1? Quarter 1? Facing headwinds, primarily from tight monetary condition, both domestically and globally, Cost said. Okay, to tame inflation and stabilize the peso, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, BSP, has raised a key policy rate by 450 basis points since May last year, making it the most aggressive central bank in the region. Okay, Coase said this has constrained credit growth and investment. Data showed a business loan growth is to 4.9% year on year in September, the lowest pace in almost 2 years, mga kababayan, na? Okay. Sige, tuloy natin ang balita ito, na? Okay. Okay, President, Global Economic, hindi, sorry po, hindi President, Persistent pala. Sorry po, no? Kasi magsama na po ang letra. Persistent global economic uncertainties and elevated inflation, okay, continue to pull down the inflow of a foreign direct investment from January to September. Okay, the latest data from the central bank showed the net foreign direct investment fell by 15.9%, okay, to 5.85 billion, okay, 5.88 billion US dollar, no, during, okay, the 10th-month period. Meanwhile, the net outflow of a speculative fund or foreign investment registered with the central bank through authorized agent bank reached 714.98 million US dollar, okay, reversing the 305 million net inflow recorded in the same period last year. Ayan po ang data po binigay ito dito sa mga kababayan, na? Okay. So, sige, continue lang natin ang balita, no? Okay. Okay, gross inflows slipped by 3% of a 9.89 billion US dollar, while gross outflow went up by 7% to 10.96 billion US dollar. The Bangko Sentral ng Philippines Monetary Board sees foreign direct investment inflows, okay, slowing to 8 billion US dollar this year before picking up to 10 billion next year. It's also decided, okay, to lower its projected net inflow of hot money to 1 billion US dollar from 2 billion US dollar for 2023. Bakit may hot money? Okay, to 1.7 billion from 3 billion dolyares ito, no? For 2024. Okay, headwind, okay, to foreign direct investment may persist into H1 as the full repercussion of a monetary policy tightening are felt naramdaman. Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas has acknowledged, okay, the transmission to loan interest rate is not yet complete. Cost set. Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, Eli Remolona Jr. says the country monetary policy stands remaining sufficiently, okay, no? Sufficiently, okay, tight as the Philippines is not yet out of the woods where it's come to inflation, no? So, hindi pa tayo nakalabas ng lubusan po sa inflation. Kaya ganun. Medyo mahigpit mga kababayan, no? Okay, Remulo na expect inflation returning to within the central bank of 2 to 4% project or target. Okay, range by the first quarter before spiking again in the second quarter due to the base effects. Mga suki, mga kababayan, no? Ayan. So, okay, inflation average of a 6.2% from January to November, remaining above the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas target range. Okay, it is, okay, to a 20 months low of a 4.1% in November from 4.9% in October. Okay, given expectation of moderating inflation and consequent rate cuts, okay, by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, investment is likely to be to gradually regain momentum in H2 2024 COSEC. Okay, ganun po ang prediction po ng economist po ng isang bangko ito, mga kababayan. Chartered Bank, no? Okay. So, yan po ay inasahan, okay, ng sa 2024 mga suki, no? Ayan. Sige. Dami pang balita, no? Pero, okay, hindi na, wala nang oras. Ayan. Okay, kahit din na maubos ang balita ito, ang oras natin po mga kababayan, 27 minutos, pasado na po alas 8. Ang Marcos administration set into a motion for devolution of plan for the local government units, no? Okay, basahin na lang natin isang balita ito. Okay, kahit hindi ko maubos, basta mga kalahati mga kababayan na. Okay, overtime na. Okay. Ayan. Sige. Okay, basahin po natin ang news ng from the Palace, Office of the President, President Marcos. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. directed all national government agencies, NGA, okay, to come up with a list of a function that should be devolved to the local government units, LGU, Malacanang said on Monday. Ano mga position po devolution to LGU, no? Okay. According to the Presidential Communication Office PCO, Chief Executive gave order in a meeting in the palace last week where he reiterated the need to identify the priority core functions and services that should be devolved to the local government units from the national government agencies. Ibig sabihin para mapabilis po ang transaction na. Okay, kasi kung accomplish na po ang digitalization natin, no? Di madali na. Okay, the funding and the schedule of implementation of the functions and services, okay, that you would provide based on the local government unit capacity and in accordance with the minimum standards set by the NGAs shall be computed following the said assessment. So the LGUs lack the fund to implement the function and services. Okay, the national government should have a program to assist them. The PCO said pertaining to the minutes of the meeting last December 21. Pag-usapan ng pondo ng LGU, lagi po short mga suki, mga kababayan, no? Lagi short, wala pa kung naalala po, hindi laging kulang mga kababayan, no? Okay, wala laging kulang. Okay, ang pondo po ng local government unit, no? Okay, ilang taon ba ko sa probinsya? Malapit 10 taon, no? Okay, sa local government units, laging kulang po. Okay, this particularly refers to LGUs heavily reliant on their internal revenue allotment. Yatawag po IRA, no? Okay, Marcos likewise instructed the National Economic and Development Authority, NEDA, okay, to conduct a sensitivity analysis on the most the government can gain from its investment, which include the function and services to be performed by the LGUs, no? Okay, the National Economic Development Authority is also the task, okay, to recommend way to better implement a phase-in devolution, including a timeline based on LGU capacity, which is in addition to the ongoing study on the determinant of a function and the services that should be performed by the national government devolved to LGU, the PCO said, no? Okay, aral ng aral po mga kababayan ng loob ng palasyo, no? So, tapos lang ang taon, tapos po ang 6 na taon, wala kayo ma-implement, no? Puro pag-aral ng aral po gagawin nyo mga suki, no? Okay, dapat talaga, okay, mga TW nyo ay talagang magaling mga suki, no? Okay, pag meron na sila po magandang mga opportunity project, okay, dapat implement mga suki. And then i-monitor, okay, kung talagang na-implement po ng mga proyekto, no? Okay, nag-observe ako dito sa aming probinsya sa mga, okay, sa tinatawag po ng basulta. Okay, parang salat po mga project mga suki, no? Okay, kasi ang basulta po under po ng okay, parang under ng barn, ano? Okay, pero dito po sa mga Zamboanga City, Zamboanga Sibugay, okay, Zamboanga del Norte del Sur, okay, kunti ang patak po ng mga proyekto, no? Ayan, kunti. So, dahil po kaka-study, okay, wala po na-implement mga kababayan, no? So, action. Action po kaagad. Hindi po pwede pa, okay, tigil-tigil. No? Nakita mo ba yung proyekto ni Senator Bongo, yung Malasakit Center? Bilis po dumami. No? Kasi action kaagad. Hindi, wala pong pag meron na pondo, kaagad-agad po in-implement po yung Malasakit Center. No? Okay, public service po sa kalusugan. Mga ganun po ang mga estilo, no? Okay, kay study ka ng kay study po, wala. Maubos po ng 6 na taon, wala po ma-implement mga suki, na. Okay, sobra na overtime. May ilang oras ng overtime ko, no? Okay. Mahaba na po mga suki. No? So, ito na. Tama na po mga kababayan. Tama na pag-study, no? Ayan. Dapat po mag-implement po ng project, no? Ayan. Ayan. Awesome! 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 Okay, mahaba po ang oras natin na consume, no? Okay, so okay na. Bumalik naman tayo bukas dito po sa Consolidated News natin. Okay, sa ADLSNTV Corporation. Okay, sa programa po Halo-Halo Special, Opinion, Balita at iba pa. Karamay po serbisyo publiko, tinig ng mamamayan. And then, sumbong ng mamamayan pinapabot sa atin, no? Okay, hindi lang local, hindi lang regional, hindi lang national. Okay, pati na rin ng okay, ibang daigdig po reklamo na. Okay, sa kalagayan natin, no? Ayan. Okay, ano po ang makuan natin? Closing remark natin, no? Parang speech ba? Closing remark. Okay. So, election sa Amerika sa 2024. Okay, 61%. Dapat hindi na po mag-rematch itong si Donald Trump at saka itong si Joe Biden. Okay, dapat na mga bagong mukha nila Michelle Obama sa Democrats at saka may mga kalaban naman sa Republican mga suki, no? Okay. Parang magaan po ang pakiramdam ko, no? Pag itong si Michelle Obama po ay tatakbo, no? Okay. Ayan. So, malalaman natin yan, no? Michelle Obama, okay, former First Lady, okay, former occupant of the White House for 8 years, no? And the former President Barack Obama. Ban na kasi si Barack Obama ang takbo ng presidente, kaya nga si Mitchell na. Okay, abogasa man. Abogado po mga attorney, mga kababayan, no? Kayang-kaya po, tapos malakas pa. Hindi pa paugod-ugod katulad ko. Okay, okay pa po, malakas pa. Okay. malaking agwat natin sa edad nila, no? Kayang-kaya po ay magpatakbo ng White House, no? Okay. Mr. President Barack Obama, are you willing to occupy once again the White House? Ayan po mga suki, no? Okay. So, bye-bye na. Okay, wala tayong masamang tinapay dito sa programa natin. Okay, nakakalbo na po sa kakaisip po ng daigdig, no? Ayan. Wala na tayong masamang tinapay. Balita lang. Pasensya po kung minsan maanghang mga sinasabi natin, no? Pero yon po ang katotohanan po, mga kababayan. Wala akong tinago po sa puso ko, no? Sa totoo lang. Pag nailabas ko na, wala akong tinatago sa loob ko, no? Okay, pass na yon. Okay, pero seryoso ko, okay magsabi mga kababayan na ganoon ang tama, ganoon ang mali, seryoso mga suki, no? So wish ko lang kasi miyembro ako ng Bangsamoro Press Corps, ay magsaya po sila bukas mga kababayan, no? At saka yung mga media, uwi po, walang yung okay, sinabi ko sa presidente namin, si parehas na ba ng kami tiguang, no? Okay, si Kakali Makabalang masakit ang tuhod ko mga suki, no? Okay, sinabi ko sa kanya. Okay, naintindihan niya yan. Okay, at saka wala na rin wala ring available ticket kasi okay, katapusan po ng maraming magsiuyan, magbakasyon, no? Mahirap magkuha po ng sasakyan, no? Okay, kung mag-commute ka, okay, tagtag na po mga kabay, pagod na, no? Ayan. So, 2024 na lang. Kung abot pa ng December 2024, no? Ayan. O kaya padala na lang. Kakali Makabalang, okay, si Andrew Sin Alonto, padala na lang sa GCash, no? Okay. Padala lang. Okay lang naman padala. Kakali. Ayan po mga suki, no? Sige.